Hey everyone, I'm Bhavin,
And I'm Aastha.
and today we are going to present the final project report for CS310. So, what did we build? So, we are building AI content moderator for Reddit, and the core functionality is its ability to investigate if a given post violates subreddit rules using AI pipelines. So, to give you a bit of context, Reddit is a popular social media site where people can post their content within groups called subreddits, and each of these groups have their own specific laws as to what people can post and what they cannot, and we want to moderate the content based on these rules. And as to why we are building this, so the current content moderation tools that are present, they depend on regex based filtering and they're very limited, and parsing semantic rules automatically is not viable in the system. So that's why we thought of building a AI solution for this. As to how did we do this, so we have three major functionalities. First is the interaction with Python wrapper for Reddit API, which helps us get the rules and the submissions for specific subreddits whenever we want, based on a certain limit of polling. Secondly, we have built a functionality to identify if submission content contains not safe for work language, and we are using a pre-trained text classifier model, the name of which is present here. We are sourcing it from Hugging Face. And thirdly, we have deployed our own LLM on EC2 instance, specifically the Llama 3.1, and we are using this to identify if subreddit text violates any of the rules for that specific subreddit in which it was posted. So let's look at the project architecture. So first of all, we are using Event Bridge to make a scheduler that gets triggered every 24 hours, and that triggers the Reddit fetch and store lambda. Secondly, we are using a bunch of EC2 servers to host first of all the front end server that's based out of Streamlit. We are also using EC2 instances to host Olama server, which has the Llama 3.1 and the inference endpoint for it. As another use for EC2 instance that we have is the NSFW filter, which has the model itself as well as the inference pipeline for it hosted on the EC2 instance. We are using DynamoDB here to store the Reddit submissions as well as the rules and the process results all together in these two tables. We are using the S3 to store the list of subreddit names in which we are using in this project. And lastly, we have the lambdas. We have a couple of core functionalities hidden within these lambdas. First is the Reddit fetch and store lambda that basically interacts with Reddit API and gets back the latest submissions and the rules for various subreddits. We also have the NSFW trigger lambda that basically triggers the inference endpoint on the EC2 instance. And third, we have the Llama rules process lambda that basically takes the rules and the submissions from the database and passes it along to the Olama host to check if there is any violation of the Reddit rules.
Let's go through the workflow, how all this is connected with each other. So the event bridge will be triggered every 24 hours. And what happen is it will every 24 hours it will invoke our fetch and store lambda function. So what this function will do is it will go to our S3 bucket, fetch the list of subreddit names from it. Now we have the subreddit names. These, along with these subreddit names, we go to the Python wrapper for Reddit, and from there we will get the top submissions from past 24 hours for each subreddit along with the rules. Now we have the submissions and the rules for each subreddit. They get stored into the DynamoDB tables. In DynamoDB, it will create two tables. One table will have the subreddit names and their corresponding rules, and the second table will have the subreddit name and their submissions in it. When our DynamoDB tables are populated, it will in turn trigger the two lambda functions, that is the text rule process lambda and the NSFW parser lambda. First, let's talk about the text rule process lambda. What it will do is this lambda will then fetch the submissions and the rules for the subreddit from the DynamoDB, and it will invoke our EC2 instance on which our Llama model is hosted. And that model will do it. It will take this submission, these rules, and it will give us the analysis of if the submission is violating any rules or not. And the final results in turn again get stored into the DynamoDB table. And for our NSFW parser lambda, what it will do is it will invoke our EC2 server, which has the classification model hosted on it, and it will take the submissions and it will do the classification if our submissions have the NSFW language or not. And the results once again get stored into the DynamoDB table. And the final part of the project is the front end server, which is linked to this DynamoDB. And whenever the user wants to inspect any subreddit or any of the submissions in the subreddit, it will just our front end will go to the DynamoDB, fetch the analysis, and show it to the user. Yeah, so before going to the demo, I would like to show you our AWS console and where everything is. As you can see, these are the three EC2 instances that we are running. The first one is the front end, second one is for where our llama model lives, and third one is where our classification model lives. The second is event bridge, where it will get triggered every 24 hours and it will trigger this Reddit fetch and store lambda function. The another component is DynamoDB and the tables in it. As you can see, there are two tables, the Reddit submissions and the Reddit rules. So in the subreddit rules, as you can see, these are the subreddit names and these are the corresponding rules for the subreddit. And this is the snapshot of the submission table. And this is, as you can see, this is the NSFW tag. This is the the submissions and their analysis present. And this is our fetch and store lambda function that will be triggered by the event bridge. This is our rule processing lambda, which will triggered by DynamoDB. And this is our NSFW process lambda, which will be also be triggered by the DynamoDB. Now let's go to our demo. Yeah, so the first thing that the user will see is this drop down menu from which the user can select any of the subreddit. Let's say, for example, we choose movies, and then we click on this subreddit dashboard, which will show us the subreddit for movies. As you can see, these are the rules for the subreddit. And when we click on the analyze the subreddit, it will give us the first brief overview of how many submissions are there and how many are processed. And then when we click the detailed analysis, this will be the final page that user will see. These are the rules and these are the submissions on which the analysis have been run. For example, let's click on this one, and this is how the it will be shown to the user. This is the submission text, and this is the rule for the submission and if it's violating or not. This rule is not violated, so this is true. And this is the example for false, in which this subreddit actually violates the rule. And this submission, this is the explanation why this submission is violating the subreddit rule. And this is given for all the submissions that have been processed. And then we can go to the subreddit dashboard again and look for another subreddit if the user wants. And this is our project. Thank you.
Thank you.